KGUN9 consumer reporter John Matarese warns why your olive oil may not be what it claims to be, so you don't waste your money.
If you cook with olive oil every day, there's a real chance you've been misled. Olive oil is one of the most counterfeited foods in the world. The FDA has flagged imported shipments for adulteration, and independent tests have found many bottles labeled extra virgin failed purity standards. Some brands bottle in Italy but source olives from multiple countries, and you'd never know from the front label. You're paying premium prices for something that may not be pure. In this video, I'm exposing 12 olive oil brands to avoid and revealing 6 worth buying, with the last one being the cleanest widely available option. If you want to protect your family from everyday food shortcuts, subscribe to BizWorld Explorer. Let's start with a brand many kitchens already have. Brand number 12, Pompian. Pompian is everywhere. Big bottles, reasonable price. Imported, printed proudly on the front. It feels safe because it's common, but common doesn't always mean careful. Pompian's standard extra virgin line is usually a large-scale blend sourced from multiple countries. The label may say imported from or crafted from olives grown in several regions. That sounds global and premium. In reality, it often means mixed batches combined for volume and consistency, not freshness. When oil is blended in huge quantities, it travels long distances before bottling. Time and movement matter. Olive oil begins to lose quality the moment it's pressed. Heat, light, and oxygen slowly break it down. Bulk storage increases that exposure. Another issue is harvest transparency. Many bottles do not clearly state the harvest year. Without that detail, you don't know how long the oil has been sitting before it reached your kitchen. Pompian opens this list because when sourcing is broad and timelines are unclear, quality becomes harder to guarantee, especially for something you use every day. Brand number 11, Bertolli. Bertolli is one of the most familiar olive oil brands in the United States. Many people see the Italian name and assume the olives come directly from Italian groves. In reality, many standard bottles are made from olives sourced from several countries, then blended and packaged under one label. The front design suggests a single origin. The sourcing statement tells a broader story. Bertolli has also faced past scrutiny over whether certain products truly qualified as extra virgin at the time they were sold. Extra virgin is a strict quality grade based on acidity and freshness. If oil sits too long or is exposed to poor storage conditions, it can lose that classification even if the label remains unchanged. Another concern is uniform taste. The flavor is often mild and predictable, which appeals to many buyers. However, fresh olive oil usually has a noticeable peppery finish. When that sharpness is missing, it may signal aging or over-filtering. Bertolli appears here because branding can create confidence that the bottle itself does not fully support, and the next brand pushes Italian imagery even harder. Brand number 10, Filippo Berio. Filippo Berio is another name that feels established and reliable. Many shoppers assume long history equals steady quality, but when you look closely at the standard extra virgin line, the sourcing model raises questions. This brand commonly relies on global blending. Oils from different countries are combined to create a consistent taste profile. While that keeps flavor stable year after year, it also means the bottle does not represent a single harvest or region. Olive oil is an agricultural product. It should reflect a season. When multiple sources are mixed together, that connection gets diluted. Another issue is harvest date visibility. Many bottles do not clearly show when the olives were picked. Without that information, you cannot judge freshness. Olive oil is at its best within a limited time window after pressing. The longer it sits before bottling, the more quality declines. There is also grading variability. Not all batches perform the same under testing standards. Filippo Berio earns this position because when time and origin are unclear, quality becomes uncertain, and the next brand expands sourcing even further. Brand number 9, Calavita often positions itself as balanced and smooth, which appeals to people who don't want strong bitterness in their cooking oil. But that mild profile can be a red flag. Fresh, high-quality olive oil naturally has a peppery finish and slight bitterness because of polyphenols, the compounds that protect the oil from breaking down. When oil tastes overly soft and neutral, it may mean those protective compounds are low. Another concern is filtration intensity. Highly filtered oils look clean and clear in the bottle, but heavy processing can remove natural sediments that carry flavor and antioxidants. What you gain in appearance, you may lose in character. There's also the issue of shelf presentation. Calavita is often displayed under bright grocery lighting. Light exposure speeds up oxidation, especially over time. Clear or lightly tinted bottles offer less protection. Calavita lands here because when oil is engineered to taste gentle and look polished, it may sacrifice the very qualities that make olive oil valuable. Next, we look at a brand that many American families have trusted for generations. Brand number 8, Star Olive Oil. Star Olive Oil has been on American shelves for decades, and that long presence creates quiet trust. Many families buy it out of habit, but when you look closer, the production style raises concerns. Star has been associated with refinement blending practices in certain product lines. That means lower-grade olive oil can be processed to remove defects, then mixed with a portion of higher-quality oil, and still sold under an extra virgin label in some markets. Refining strips away flaws, but it also removes aroma and beneficial compounds. What's left is smoother, but less alive. Another issue is the very light flavor. Fresh olive oil should have some bitterness and a slight throat burn. When oil tastes flat and almost invisible in food, it may be older than it seems. Mildness can hide age. The heavy industrial filtering used to create crystal-clear oil also removes small particles that contribute to complexity. If this is helping you rethink what's in your kitchen, subscribe to BizWorld Explorer so you don't miss the next breakdown. Like this video to push this information to more home cooks, and comment below if Star is something you've used before. Brand number 7, Amazon Fresh Olive Oil. Amazon Fresh Olive Oil attracts buyers because it is simple to order and arrives at the door with everything else. Convenience builds confidence. When a product comes from a giant platform, people assume strict oversight is part of the package, but convenience and craftsmanship are not the same thing. This oil is built as a private label product, which means production is outsourced. The actual mill behind the bottle can vary depending on contracts. That setup creates uncertainty because the identity of the producer is not always clear to the customer. Another issue is cost positioning. Online retail competition is intense. To remain attractive, pricing must stay aggressive. When margins tighten, blending choices can shift toward lower-priced olive batches that still meet minimum standards but may not deliver strong flavor or antioxidant depth. The label design is clean and modern, yet detailed traceability information is limited. Without clear grove identification or pressing specifics, buyers rely mostly on brand trust. Amazon Fresh appears here because speed and simplicity do not automatically equal careful selection. Brand number 6, Great Value Extra Virgin Olive Oil. Great Value Olive Oil wins shoppers with one clear message: low price. When a bottle costs significantly less than the brands around it, it feels like a smart financial decision. But olive oil is not a product where extreme discounts happen without trade-offs. Producing authentic extra virgin oil requires careful harvesting, rapid pressing, and proper storage. Those steps cost money. When the retail price drops very low, producers must protect margins somewhere. That often means sourcing lower-grade olives or blending oils that meet only the minimum legal standard. There is also limited visibility into the farms behind the bottle. The label does not provide meaningful detail about specific groves or producers. Without that transparency, it becomes difficult to judge how the olives were handled before pressing. Large retailers move products through extensive distribution systems. Bottles can sit in central warehouses for long periods before reaching store shelves. Olive oil slowly degrades over time, even in sealed containers. Great value appears here because aggressive cost positioning usually signals aggressive compromises. And the next brand relies on heritage reputation rather than low pricing to earn trust. Brand number 5. Carapelli. Carapelli carries a classic Italian image that suggests old-world care and tradition. For many buyers, that name alone creates confidence, but reputation has not always matched performance. Carapelli has faced past legal challenges related to whether certain bottles met extra virgin standards when tested. Independent laboratory results in previous years showed oxidation levels that raised concerns about freshness at the time of purchase. Oxidation is not visible on the label. It shows up in taste and chemical analysis. When oil begins to break down, it loses its vibrant aroma and sharp finish. What remains is flatter and less stable for cooking. Consumers rarely notice until they compare it with a truly fresh oil. The bigger issue is expectation. When a brand leans heavily on heritage identity, shoppers assume consistent excellence. Laboratory data, however, has not always supported that assumption. Carapelli appears here because past testing disputes matter. When results and reputation don't align, careful buyers should pay attention. Brand number 4. La Tourangelle. La Tourangelle often sits in specialty sections, surrounded by artisan products. The branding feels upscale, and the price reflects that. Many shoppers assume higher cost means tighter control. But with the non-single origin extra virgin line, the sourcing model deserves attention. These bottles are typically made from olives gathered across different regions, rather than one clearly defined estate. When origin shifts, character shifts too. Olive oil is highly dependent on soil and climate. Blending across areas can smooth flavor, but it also removes distinct identity. Another concern is packaging choice. Some versions use lighter glass that allows more light exposure compared to fully opaque containers. Light speeds up deterioration, especially under strong store lighting. In specialty shops where turnover can be slower, bottles may sit longer before purchase. The price suggests depth and traceability, yet detailed farm information is limited. If you value honest breakdowns instead of fancy labels, subscribe to BizWorld Explorer so you never overpay for packaging again. Like this video to help others see beyond branding. And comment below if premium pricing has ever fooled you. Brand number 3. Lucini Premium Select. Lucini Premium Select uses the word premium boldly on the label. That single word changes how people feel before they even twist the cap. Premium suggests superior fruit, careful pressing, and limited production. But the standard line does not always reflect that level of detail. This oil is typically produced as a blend rather than a single estate expression. Blending allows companies to maintain the same taste year after year. While that sounds appealing, olive oil is meant to reflect a specific season. When flavor becomes standardized, individuality disappears. Another issue is lack of clear pressing timeline. Many bottles do not provide specific crush dates. Without that information, buyers cannot judge how fresh the oil truly is. Olive oil gradually loses aroma and antioxidant strength over time. The taste profile is often designed to be smooth and approachable. That consistency can signal heavy adjustment to meet expectations rather than showcasing natural variation. Lucini appears here because labeling can elevate perception beyond what sourcing transparency fully supports. Brand number 2. California Olive Ranch. California Olive Ranch has built strong trust in the United States. Many shoppers see the word California and assume the olives were grown and pressed locally under strict standards. That assumption applies to some of their estate lines, but not to the Destination series. The Destination series uses an international blending model. Oils from different countries are combined to meet volume demands. The front label often highlights California heritage, which can create the impression of domestic origin even when the olives come from multiple regions abroad. When oil from various countries is merged into one bottle, natural differences in fruit quality and ripeness are averaged out. This can lead to noticeable variation between production lots. One purchase may taste vibrant, the next may feel weaker. The concern here is clarity. When branding emphasizes local identity but sourcing stretches beyond that image, buyers deserve to know exactly what they are paying for. California Olive Ranch Destination Series appears here because expectation and composition are not always aligned. Brand number 1. Generic, imported from Italy store brands. The most misleading bottles in the olive oil aisle are the ones that simply say imported from Italy, with no real brand behind them. That phrase sounds impressive. Many people believe it means the olives were grown in Italian groves and pressed under strict regional rules. In reality, imported from Italy often means the oil was only bottled there. There is a well-known bottling loophole. Oil can be sourced from different European Union countries, shipped to Italy for packaging, and then labeled as imported from Italy. The front of the bottle highlights Italy. The fine print tells a different story. Another warning sign is the absence of a harvest year. Without that information, buyers cannot judge freshness. Olive oil quality declines over time, even if the bottle is unopened. These store-brand imports rank first because they rely heavily on country image rather than clear production details. When labeling creates more emotion than information, careful shoppers should slow down before buying. Most bottles look impressive, but labels can't tell you everything. Freshness, real origin, and how the oil was handled matter far more than fancy wording. That's why only a few options actually stand out. If you're someone who cooks for your family and wants to use better ingredients every day, go ahead and subscribe to BizWorld Explorer. We break this stuff down in simple terms so you don't have to research it yourself. If this video made you think differently, hit like so more people see it. Drop a comment and tell me which brand shocked you. And share this with the person in your house who does the grocery shopping. Now, let's talk about the olive oils that are actually worth buying. Safe number 6. Kirkland Signature Organic. Kirkland Signature Organic earns a place on the safer list because of how quickly it moves. Costco sells huge volume, which means pallets don't sit around for months collecting dust. Faster movement usually means bottles reach customers sooner after packaging. Another strength is organic verification. Certified organic status requires compliance with specific agricultural and processing standards. That adds an extra layer of outside review compared to many conventional supermarket oils. Some batches also publish measurable acidity levels, which gives buyers at least one concrete quality indicator instead of relying only on branding. The pricing structure is also reasonable for the quality offered. You're not paying boutique markups for decent standards. That said, this is not a single grove product. It's still produced at scale, and flavor complexity may not match smaller estates. Kirkland works well for families who cook often and want dependable everyday oil without paying premium specialty prices. Safe number 5. Cobram Estate. Cobram Estate makes the safer list because it manages its own orchards instead of relying on outside growers. The company oversees cultivation, pressing, and packaging within one controlled system. That level of internal management reduces guesswork about who handled the olives before they became oil. Another advantage is focus on earlier picking periods. Olives gathered sooner tend to produce oil with higher antioxidant content and a more vibrant finish. Cobram's oils often have that noticeable peppery bite, which signals strong natural compounds. Because the company handles production from grove to bottle, there is clearer accountability at each step. The downside is cost. This oil sits at a higher price tier than typical supermarket options. Its bold taste may also feel intense for people used to very mild oils. Cabrem works best for buyers who value controlled production and want clearer oversight behind what they're pouring. Safe number 4. Partana Partana earns its place because it comes from one specific Sicilian estate rather than a mix of unrelated suppliers. That single-source identity allows the oil to reflect a clear regional character instead of a blended compromise. Production follows a seasonal rhythm, meaning each release represents that year's crop instead of a formula designed to taste identical forever. One major advantage is packaging. Partana is commonly sold in opaque tins, which block damaging light far better than clear or lightly tinted glass. Protection from light helps preserve aroma and stability. This oil is known for a lively, pepper-forward profile that signals robust natural compounds. It's not subtle, and that strength may overpower delicate dishes. Availability can also be limited in smaller grocery chains. Partana works especially well for drizzling over vegetables, bread, or salads where bold flavor and freshness truly matter. Safe number 3. Laudemio stands out because it follows strict regional consortium rules that limit how and where the olives are grown and processed. Production is restricted to a defined area in Tuscany, and growers must meet specific standards before the oil can carry the name. That level of regulation reduces shortcuts. Another strength is timing. Olives are gathered within a controlled window to protect flavor intensity and chemical balance. The oil typically meets very low acidity levels, which is one measurable sign of careful handling. Bottles come in dark glass and often include identifiable batch codes, giving buyers more traceable detail than most supermarket options. Extraction methods focus on keeping temperatures low to preserve natural compounds. The trade-off is cost. This oil sits in a higher price bracket and is usually sold in smaller quantities. Laudemio works best as a finishing oil for special meals rather than everyday heavy cooking. Safe number 2, Brightland. Brightland makes the safer list because it works directly with specific California growers, instead of relying on anonymous bulk suppliers. That closer relationship allows clearer communication about where the olives come from and how they were handled before pressing. Stronger points is visible harvest transparency. The brand highlights when the olives were picked and focuses on releasing oil relatively soon after milling. Shorter timelines help preserve aroma and stability compared to products that sit longer before bottling. Brightland also leans into traceability. Buyers can usually find more detailed sourcing information than on typical supermarket bottles. The company prioritizes freshness rather than pushing massive production volume. The downside is reach and price. Distribution is not as wide as major grocery brands, and packaging design contributes to a higher cost. It suits shoppers who care most about recent harvest oils and are willing to pay more for that focus. Number 1. Local cold-pressed single estate. The cleanest option isn't a global label. It's oil pressed and sold by a nearby producer. When you buy from a regional mill, you often know exactly where the olives were grown and crushed. There's no mixing of fruit from different nations, and no anonymous bulk consolidation. As the oil moves straight from pressing facility to customer, the timeline is shorter. Fewer transfers mean less exposure to damaging conditions. That speed helps preserve aroma, flavor intensity, and natural compounds that fade over time. The benefit is simplicity. Smaller operations typically handle limited batches rather than industrial-scale volumes. That reduces complexity in the chain between tree and table. There are trade-offs. Availability depends on harvest season, and price per ounce is usually higher than supermarket brands. Cold-pressed estate oil works best for households that cook regularly and value maximum freshness over convenience or brand recognition. Oil isn't the enemy. Oxidation, careless storage, and unclear blending are the real issues. The goal isn't fear, it's making smarter choices every time you shop. This breakdown helped you see your pantry differently. Subscribe to BizWorld Explorer so you don't have to second-guess everyday groceries again. this video so more home cooks can avoid costly mistakes. Comment below what you're using right now and share this with whoever does the cooking in your house. Now watch 10 US ice cream brands you should never buy on your screen.